I'm Chef Joe Murphy, co-founder of the Chef's Table Foundation. This show, which is a new show, Vegetarian Spice, is produced by Chef's Table Foundation, and we're very grateful and pleased that Medfield TV is supporting our work and allow us to film here. And an additional bonus is we have a wonderful home chef that has been eating vegetarian food her whole life, and she's from India, so she cooks Indian cuisine. And one of the things I really love and interests me, the amount of spices and herbs. So Aditi, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. One thing we always mention on the show, it's a French term, and that's mise en place. And it means everything in its place. So that when you're getting ready to cook, have all your ingredients. You don't have to have them scaled because cooking, unlike baking, is not as exact. And we would like to have your own inspiration. You know, you may like a couple of different spices more than you may like another. So don't be afraid to experiment, and your family, so you know what everybody likes. So the first thing we're going to talk about is your mise en place. So why don't you tell us, first of all, what is the dish you're making?
Okay, so let me start with just something about proteins and vegetarians. The first question that people ask me is, or any vegetarians, is how do you get your proteins?
Right.
So there are many different ways that you can get your proteins. So you get proteins from legumes, which are beans, peanuts, soy products, and then another thing, you can get it from vegetable sources too. Broccoli, spinach, kale, avocado.
Right.
So it's, you know, and grains. So basically Indian food consists of all of these, and then dairy products. And if you have milk product allergies or dairy choices that you want to make, they're alternate. And then also from almonds and sunflower seeds. So there's a variety of things that you can get proteins from that you don't even think about.
Right.
The whole key is balancing everything out. You want to make sure, you know, I'm sure Joanne will be talking about that later on. I won't spend too much time on the nutritional part of it.
Right.
But it's just, you know, balancing everything out.
Yeah, and you just mentioned that word balance twice, and that's really critical in this cuisine. Our Asian cuisine, you know, everything is about balance.
Absolutely,
sweet, sour. So, you know, particularly where there's no meats or poultry or lamb or pork, you know.
So that's where all the spices come in.
Right,
you know.
right.
We talked about, last show was all about spices and ghee, and I'm using all of those ingredients that we did in the last one.
Excellent.
So today's dish is, just as you asked what that was, is called Rajma. It's a red bean curry, and it's similar to chili, but it has many more spices.
Oh.
So, the way it's made, you can say it's similar, but you'll find out that it may be a little more complex, but it's not difficult to make.
Right.
It's once you taste it, you know, I'm sure you'll go back and make this in place of chili.
Right.
But you know, nothing wrong with that. But this is a great alternate for a bean chili. The only difference is the texture. You'll still have some whole beans in there.
Which is great.
Right.
Yeah.
And so let me just quickly mention some of the ingredients that we have.
That's right.
So these are dry red kidney beans, and you'll be able to find that in any grocery store. This is a longer process. When I have the time, I definitely take the time because it makes a difference in the taste. So you soak the dry beans, hydrate them, soak it overnight or 6 to 8 hours, and then you cook them in plenty of water. So about 5 times more. So this is 1 cup of beans, so you do like 5 to 6 cups of water. And get them, don't add salt because that's one tip. You don't want to add salt to beans. Rice, it's okay to do that, but not beans because it doesn't cook fast. It'll take forever.
Oh.
So-
Chef just gave you a great tip.
Yeah, and alternately, you can definitely go for the canned beans. You just want to make sure you rinse off completely and drain it. You don't want to use any of the preservatives in there. I do use that, I have to tell you, because of my work schedule. I
Right.
just sometimes have all these beans that I
Yeah,
can go home
and they
cook
are
together.
flavorful.
Right. And so this dish has, I cook it in ghee, which
Oh,
we made last time.
right.
But you can use any other vegetable oil.
Right.
And then simple large onion cut up.
That's
Fine.
a small dice?
Yeah,
looks
small
like?
dice.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
let's see.
Yeah.
And then I have minced garlic and ginger. Not a lot, just a little bit here.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
In Chinese cuisine, they're equal portions. A teaspoon of garlic, a teaspoon of ginger, and is that the ratio you pretty much?
Typically, that's what it is. But
Okay.
let's say you like garlic, you can add a
Yeah.
little bit more of it. You don't like
Sure.
ginger, you can leave it out. So there's ways, if you don't
Right.
like something, you can leave it out.
Right.
It won't taste the same, but if you don't like it, you'll like it
Yeah.
without that
I-
ingredient.
Yeah, and the combination is fantastic in a dish, and that's my experience.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
I think that's great.
And then we have some tomato puree. You can use fresh, or you can use good quality canned one. Again, the
Yeah.
good ones are canned when it's peak season, so
Yeah.
there's no issues with that
Yeah.
unless you don't like it.
Right.
Then you do it fresh. It just takes a longer.
Now, a quick question, do you suggest a puree, or do you buy the whole peeled tomatoes?
Puree. For this
Puree,
one, yeah.
okay,
Very
all right.
particular because you want the curry to be like a velvety texture at the end.
Okay.
So it's a good marriage
Yeah.
when you have the soft beans like that.
Right, and that was a great tip on the tomato choice, if you don't mind me saying
Yeah,
this.
absolutely.
And the word a chef used was velvety. So, eating is not just about taste, it's about appearance and how it hits your palate. And with the beans, that you're going to have some additional texture. And
Yes.
then with the rice, which you're recommending, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
absolutely, the beans also soak up everything really well, just because they're soft cooked and they're like a sponge
Yeah.
and take flavors really well.
Okay.
And then I have the garam masala here that we made in our last class,
Mm-hmm.
and then some other ingredients from the spice box.
I love the spice box.
So we'll be using the cumin, coriander, both ground, and then we'll be using some of the cayenne or red chili powder, turmeric, and that's about it. I'm not using some ingredients in here.
Okay.
So maybe we
Well,
should
if we can
get
start,
started.
get cooking, yeah.
Okay.
I can't wait. I'll tell you, just sitting here, standing over the different ingredients, the smell is so aromatic. It's great.
So
That's a-
now I have the onions in there, and you want to make sure they're translucent.
Right.
And I'm going to pretend that they are.
Yeah.
And then you do the garlic,
Yeah.
which is about 3 cloves of garlic in here.
Right.
And then ginger, same quantity. It's about 1-inch piece of fresh ginger.
Okay.
I just,
Yeah. You dice it or grate it?
yes. I just diced it, so it's minced.
Okay. Great.
Probably turn the heat down
Yeah.
a little bit.
And Aditi, Chef Aditi just mentioned that onion's translucent, and if you're a real novice, it basically means that white characteristic will become lighter, almost like looking through a heavily filtered glass. So you want to do that because it'll bring out the oils and the
Absolutely.
gases and cook them off.
It turns aromatic.
Right.
And again, in the interest of time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to add turmeric. It's about 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric in there.
Right.
That's what gives the nice rich yellow color in it.
Right.
Ginger. So then same amount. If you like the heat, you can add a little bit more, but don't do it in the beginning.
Right.
And don't do it for parties. You just want to do a little bit. I like heat, so I put a little bit more.
Yeah.
But my kids won't eat it, so I have to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the lighter. I don't mind heat. One time I couldn't even tolerate it, but over the years, I wanted to find out why everybody was turning beet red in the top of their head. So I started building up a tolerance.
Okay, so I did the cayenne and the turmeric. Now I'm doing coriander, ground coriander, which is a little bit more in this because it's got a rich smoky taste, and also it's cooling to the body. If you remember it from the last class, coriander is one of those spices that
cools the
cools
body.
down. Yeah, and then I have a teaspoon of ground cumin.
Excellent. And while you're just doing this, I just want to really acknowledge McCormick Spice is a supporter of what we're doing with this show, so we're very grateful to McCormick Spice.
Okay, so then I'm adding the garam masala. Again, half teaspoon. If you like it, you can add a little bit more.
And could you tell us again what masala means?
Masala is a blend of spices. And
Thank
then
you.
last time we did it with 5 different spices.
Right.
So I won't go into details on that,
Right.
but it's got the sweet and the smoky spices in there.
Excellent. I've got to tell you, these aromas, and I always kid about smell-o-vision, but it's really great.
Yeah. So once that's all done, then you add the tomato puree.
I love tomato in any shape, form.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
And in the summer, you know, the peak of the season, fresh
Yeah.
tomatoes, you
Yeah.
kind of wonder about what to do with those. You can make your puree and put it, you know,
Right.
keep it in. And I do bottles of those fresh in the
Oh, you
refrigerator.
do?
Yeah, sometimes I just use it. Not even canned, I put them in the refrigerator and use them because I use it so much.
Yeah.
So the tomatoes kind of cooled it down a little bit, so I'm turning it up.
And
So-
Chef just gave you a tip. She's adding these ingredients, when she put the tomato in, she immediately recognized that brought down the temperature in the pan, so she just increased the heat level a little bit.
Yeah, so you have to really play around with it like a little bit. If
Yeah.
it's room temperature, it'll cook quickly, but if it's from the refrigerator, it takes a little longer because it's cold.
Yeah,
And this one was in the fridge till about 15 minutes ago.
excellent.
So if you can see the color, you can already start seeing it sort of looks like chili.
Right.
And maybe it's a little more yellow. So you want to cook down for about 10 to 12 minutes on medium heat. And then time for the beans.
This is absolutely smells delicious, so I can't wait to try it.
Again, in the interest of time, I am just going to hurry along a little bit. So you put, this is the Himalayan salt that we were talking about, the pink
yes.
salt. You don't need a lot of it.
Right.
And another tip is if you're using the canned beans, you don't want to add a lot of salt because that's salted. If you're using the hydrated beans, then you can go a little more on the
Right,
salt.
right.
So,
And Chef just gave you another tip. So as you're cooking, think through your recipe. If you're using the beans that from a can, there's salt in there already. So you can always finish your meal at the end if you
Yes.
feel it needs more
Yes.
salt or whatever.
and yeah, another great tip is if it gets too spicy or hot, you can put some lemon in there to neutralize everything.
Good.
And then anytime I cook with acid, especially tomatoes, I like to balance it off with a little bit of sugar.
Yeah, good.
So that's about a half teaspoon.
Yeah,
And at the end of it, pretty much this is it. You just add hot water and cook it down. You cover and then you cook it down for about 10 to 12 minutes till you lose all of that,
water?
the water, and then the raw spicy
Spice,
smell. You want to
okay.
make sure that it's cooked. I think
Right.
otherwise it just doesn't feel good.
Okay.
So depending on what my medium would be and your medium would be, it may take a
Sure.
little longer.
Yeah,
So probably no more than 15 minutes.
okay.
I'm just going to add the water.
You've given some really great tips today, Chef. So, this is a dish I'm definitely going to try.
Okay, and then the last would be that you would garnish it with some cilantro. So again, cover it, cook it. We have some finished products, so I'm just going to bring that out.
Yeah, and
Turn
while
this
you're
off.
getting that, I just asked on the cilantro, is that a common herb in India as well?
Absolutely, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because in Latino foods, cilantro, it really finishes a product.
Equally used for garnishes. Sometimes you blend it in. Let me just get that out.
Okay, well, you're grabbing that. I'm going to grab a bowl. So this is a perfectly balanced meal, isn't that correct, Chef?
Yes, absolutely.
So you're getting
we do some,
your proteins and your carbs, and of course with the rice.
We do some rice.
Yeah.
So you could serve it over a bed of white rice.
Right.
And this time it's I've got some ghee rice here, which is clarified butter, rice with clarified butter, simple as that. And then some bread.
Some nice flat bread. Yeah. And this looks great. So,
you just garnish it right on top.
Right. And those oils will come out, particularly if it's warm.
Yes.
You know, so that'll just add another layer of flavors. And
we just plate that.
Yeah, if you want to plate one so that we can see the finished plate, but don't use too much of the rice so I can have an extra taste when we're done.
Absolutely, you will have enough in there.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Excellent.
I'm doing this in a hurry, so at home, take your time.
It smells delicious. I really am very impressed.
And that's really quick and easy. It's not, you know, when you come home tired in the evening, it takes about half an hour to put these two together. So that's like really easy to do.
So I have another question. If you were home on Sunday, could you put these dishes together and refrigerate them?
Yes.
Eat them on Tuesday, Wednesday evening?
Yeah.
So that you don't have to do that half hour?
Absolutely, but if you eat the Indian way, then it's fresh every day.
Fresh.
Yeah, no leftovers.
Right, that's really great to hear because fresh is best.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and I don't know why I'm not being fresh because I want to be the best, but in any event, this has been a great show, and one thing I really have to mention is Chef's Table Foundation was formed to produce television cooking shows, but because we reach so many people, our heartfelt mission is to support homeless U.S. veterans and homeless young adults. So just keep them in your prayers and your heart and thoughts that we can help them receive a culinary education. So I want to thank you, Aditi, and thank Medfield TV. You were absolutely great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we always try to have a live audience, so we're grateful they're here tonight. So until we see you again next week, thank you for watching Vegetarian Spice.
Hi, welcome back, and we're talking about nutrition tips today, and in particular because of today's dish, we're going to talk about the red bean. And red bean, it's a funny food in that it's a really healthy food, but we have protein, and most folks know protein is chicken, turkey, tuna, tofu, and we have carbohydrates like grains, bread, rice. Well, red bean is the only food that's 50% carbohydrate, 50% protein. So for a lot of people, for example, that are watching their weight, they might want to actually have more red beans on a plate and less rice, for example. But just to give you an idea of what the red bean contains. Now there's 5 properties of the red bean that are really, really healthy, so I consider it one of these power foods. One of the top properties of the red bean is vitamin C. So we have plenty of vitamin C, which is good for reducing inflammation in the body. It's also good for bones and tissues. Second thing about the red bean is the iron. Now there's different types of iron. There's what we call heme iron that's in steak and red meat, and there's non-heme iron in plants, and that is considered to be the most absorbable in the human body. So because of that, the non-heme, which is found in plants, the red bean is loaded with iron. And that's particularly important for people that might feel fatigued and maybe even have a low level of anemia. The third tip for the red bean is the health tip, is protein. And we have approximately 14 grams of protein per cup of cooked red beans, which packs a punch. of protein. So it's nice to add to your salads, perhaps tacos, enchiladas, and of course this fabulous, I know this is Indian cooking, but just to give you an idea of other foods that you might have in the home. But try to incorporate as much red beans, and it's also terrific if you mash it up and use it almost as a hummus at home with different types of spices. So we've talked about vitamin C, we've talked about iron, we've talked about protein. We also have folate. Folate's a B vitamin that's really good for the central nervous system, and some studies have shown it might even help with heart disease. And lastly, and this is to me the most important, soluble fiber. Soluble fiber is a type of fiber that lowers cholesterol. So a lot of folks are eating wheat bread, wheat crackers, Wheaties, everything with wheat. Wrong type of fiber if you want to lower your cholesterol. So beans are loaded with soluble fiber. So the other things that have soluble fiber, just as a sidebar, are oats, apples, pears, and you can even Google soluble fiber. But studies show that Americans are not getting enough soluble fiber, and heart disease is on the uprise, as well as high cholesterol. And in particular, red beans help to lower the bad cholesterol. So what can I say? We have the vitamin C, we have the iron, we have the folate, protein, and the soluble fiber, and a nice combination of a little bit of carbohydrate and a little bit of protein. So there's nothing wrong or anything that we can say negative about the red bean, besides this fabulous dish that I cannot wait to try when this is done. So happy eating. I'm Joanne Keaveney on behalf of the Chef's Table, and thanks for watching. Good night.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Fitness Tip. My name is Carol O'Connor. I'm a certified fitness instructor and personal trainer. And today's tip is on push-ups. Push-ups, I feel, is a very core function of our lives because you need upper body strength to push through a heavy door, push from a desk or just to push out of bed. When you're doing a push-up, you just want to make sure that you're in proper form, which I'm going to explain to you as I come down to the mat. So when you're doing a push-up, you want to bring your arms wider than your shoulders, okay? And I'm going to demonstrate the full push-up. You're going to take your feet behind you, and as you notice, you're like in a plank position. So you're developing back and ab strengthening here. Now, keeping your neck nice and long, you're going to bend the elbows out to the side, coming halfway down, and then pushing away. So again, similar to a plank, you want to zip up through your inner thighs, keep your abs in, building not only core strength, but also great back and strengthening through your triceps, your chest, and like I said, the back muscles. And then if you like to modify this, you can come down on your knees. Just flip those feet up so you're not on your knees, you're in the area above your knees, and you're just slowly coming down and up. So always try to keep your neck long, try not to shrug into your shoulders, try not to lead with your stomach or pelvis. You want to have a nice strong line in order to do these moves. And that's today's fitness tip. Thank you.